The winter of 1886 brought the harshest storm Willow Creek had seen in decades. Snow buried the empty trails, the rivers froze solid, and every rancher locked their doors before sunset. But on one freezing night, a desperate woman crossed those deadly plains carrying a secret that could destroy powerful men. When she reached the lonely ranch of Ethan Blackwood, she collapsed at his doorstep and whispered the words that would change everything. "Please, take my baby, let her live." What happened next made the entire town question the man they thought had no heart. Ethan Blackwood was known as the coldest rancher in Willow Creek. A 40-year-old cowboy with a powerful ranch, endless land, and a house that felt more like a prison than a home. People admired his strength but feared his silence. They never saw him smile, never saw him celebrate, and never saw him allow anyone close. Years ago, Ethan lost the only family he had, and since then, he buried his emotions deeper than the roots of the old trees surrounding his ranch. That night the storm was so violent that even experienced riders stayed indoors. But Ethan heard a weak knock against his wooden door. When he opened it, he saw a young woman covered in snow, barely standing, holding a tiny baby against her chest. Her name was Clara Whitmore, and her eyes carried the pain of someone who had been running from danger for too long. "I don't need you to save me," she said with a trembling voice. "Only her." Ethan looked down at the newborn wrapped in a faded blanket. He had spent years convincing himself he wasn't meant to be around children, love or family. "You have the wrong person," he said coldly. "I'm not a father." But Clara stepped closer, tears freezing on her face, and placed the baby into his arms. "Neither was I ready to lose everything," she whispered. "But if you send her away tonight, she won't see another morning." The moment Ethan held the baby, something buried inside him awakened. The child's tiny hand grabbed his finger, and for the first time in years, the lonely rancher felt a warmth he thought he had lost forever. But before he could answer, the sound of approaching horses cut through the storm. Clara's face turned pale. She knew exactly who was coming. "If they take her," she whispered, "they won't stop until every trace of her is gone." Through the frozen window, Ethan saw 6 riders approaching his ranch. Leading them was Victor Hale, the richest landowner in the county, and the man everyone feared crossing. Victor claimed Clara had stolen something valuable from him. But Ethan noticed something strange. Victor never looked at Clara. His eyes were always fixed on the baby. In that moment, Ethan realized this was not about stolen property. It was about a child someone wanted erased. Victor stood outside Ethan's ranch and demanded the baby be handed over. "This doesn't concern you, Blackwood," he warned. "Walk away before you lose everything." But Ethan stepped onto the porch, holding the child firmly in his arms. The same man who had avoided every fight for years finally looked ready for one. "A man who comes after a helpless child has already lost whatever honor he had left," Ethan replied. By sunrise, the entire town of Willow Creek knew what happened. The cold-hearted rancher had challenged Victor Hale, the most powerful man in the region, to protect a baby who wasn't even his. Some people called Ethan foolish. Others wondered what secret connected him to Clara and the child. But nobody knew that hidden inside Clara's old bag was a document that could destroy Victor's entire empire. As days passed, the impossible began happening inside Ethan's ranch. The place that once echoed with silence slowly filled with life again. The baby's laughter replaced the emptiness, and Ethan found himself changing. He started waking up early, learning how to care for her, and protecting her like she was his own. But Clara noticed something Ethan didn't. Victor wasn't giving up, he was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. One night Clara finally revealed the truth she had been hiding. She placed an old family photograph and a sealed letter on Ethan's table. When Ethan opened it, the name written inside made his blood run cold. It was connected to a tragedy from his own past, a secret he believed had died years ago. Ethan stared at the sleeping baby and realized the child who came to his door was not a random stranger. She was the missing piece of a mystery that had haunted him his entire life. Ethan's hands shook as he read the letter again and again. The words revealed a truth he never imagined possible. The baby was connected to his own family history, and the tragedy that destroyed his past was not an accident. Someone had hidden the truth for years, and Victor Hale was closer to it than anyone knew. Clara looked at Ethan and whispered, "I came here because your name was the only name my mother trusted before she died." For the first time in years, Ethan realized he wasn't just protecting a child, he was protecting the last piece of his own family. Clara finally told Ethan everything. Years ago, Victor Hale had secretly taken control of a valuable piece of land that rightfully belonged to the baby's family. When Clara discovered the truth, Victor sent men after her to silence her forever. The only evidence was the letter and an old journal hidden before the child was born. But Clara never expected that the man she trusted with her baby would be the same man connected to the forgotten promise of the past. Ethan knew he could no longer hide behind his lonely life. He had spent years avoiding pain, but now he had something worth fighting for. He rode through dangerous storms, searched old records, and questioned people who were too afraid to speak against Victor. Every clue revealed another piece of the truth. But the closer Ethan got to exposing Victor, the more dangerous the enemy became. Victor was not only trying to win a fight, he was trying to destroy Ethan completely. Victor used his power to turn the town against Ethan. He spread lies that Clara was a thief and claimed Ethan had taken the child illegally. Many people who once respected the rancher began doubting him. Even the sheriff warned Ethan that without solid proof, the baby could be taken away. Standing alone in the middle of the town, Ethan looked at the child in Clara's arms and made a promise. I lost my family once, I won't lose another one. Just when everything seemed hopeless, an unexpected person stepped forward. Samuel, Ethan's oldest ranch worker, revealed a secret he had carried for 30 years. Hidden beneath the floorboards of the old barn was a journal written by Ethan's father before his death. The pages contained the proof everyone needed, the evidence that Victor Hale had destroyed families, stolen land, and buried the truth for his own greed. The entire town watched as the man they feared was finally exposed. Victor was arrested, but before leaving, he revealed one final secret. He told Ethan that years ago, he had tried to break his family because he was afraid of what Ethan's father knew. Ethan finally understood that the pain he carried for years was built on a lie created by one man's greed. The anger inside him slowly disappeared when he looked at the little girl who had brought him back to life. After the trial, Willow Creek changed forever. The people who once called Ethan heartless now saw the kindness hidden beneath his rough appearance. The ranch that was once quiet became a place filled with laughter, family, and hope. Ethan learned that being a father was not about sharing the same blood. It was about showing up, protecting someone, and loving them every single day. Clara also found peace for the first time in years. She no longer had to run from danger or fear losing her daughter. She and Ethan built a life together, not because of a promise or a secret, but because they discovered something stronger than their past pain. They discovered trust. The woman who arrived at Ethan's door asking him to save her baby had unknowingly saved the lonely rancher's heart as well. Years later, travelers passing through Willow Creek still told the story of the night a desperate mother crossed a frozen wilderness and knocked on a stranger's door. They remembered the words that changed everything. "Take my baby, let her live." They remembered how the coldest rancher became the most loving father, and how one small child brought an entire town together by showing them the power of courage and kindness. On a beautiful evening beneath the golden western sky, Ethan stood on his ranch porch, watching his daughter run through the fields, while Clara smiled beside him. The house that once carried only loneliness was now filled with love and laughter. Ethan looked at the family he never expected to have and realized the greatest treasure he ever received was not his land, his cattle, or his wealth. It was the tiny baby placed in his arms on the coldest night of his life. The end. Red Heart.